Downer is very proud to bring this podcast series to you. At Downer, our purpose is to provide the vital services that connect communities and enable them to thrive. We do this by assembling the best minds, harnessing the power of technology and our enduring relationships to deliver sustainable outcomes for all.
My name is Jo Taranto and I'm joined today by Lisa Fragomeni, the Engineering Services Partnership Manager at Yarra Valley Water, and Jane La Nauze, Victorian Business Leader for Water at Stantec. And we're talking about diversity. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Why is diversity important in the water industry, Jane?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think, when you think about productivity and things, when we have more diverse voices at the table, we get better outcomes. So I think, it doesn't have to be just gender. This is about cultural background and all kinds of things. And I think it's really a no-brainer that we've got to continue to create inclusive and diversity in the water industry. And I think this helps us go beyond just our traditional ways of thinking about solutions in an engineering mindset to bringing in more things around livability, outcomes, traditional owners, the community, the environment, all of that. And then the other sort of aspect I think about is that diversity also includes, potentially groups that are neurodiverse, for example, that, can be really good at data science, and then suddenly they're bringing us new AI and data solutions and digital stuff that'll help us, move forward as an industry.
Lisa, Yarra Valley Water Engineering Services Partnership, what is it and how was diversity part of this project?
So in 2022, Yarra Valley Water entered into a partnership with Jacobs and Ripple, two organisations that form the engineering services provision at our organisation. And the decision to move into a partnership like this was to align with what the community was asking from us. Over the years, the expectations have grown in terms of what our responsibility is for sustainability, the environment, community, social procurement, you name it. And so we brought two organisations that are aligned to the vision of success in community to ensure that we're meeting that expectation that the customers have asked us to meet.
And what did it look like?
The idea is that we have those two partners join us in early project conversations. So we're delivering infrastructure, water and sewer infrastructure to communities day in, day out. And so to challenge the norm and the way that we've traditionally done things was to bring in diversity of thought with two organisations that have that idea of successful community and environmental outcomes. If you bed that into the design process early enough, you're more likely to achieve the success more efficiently and more effectively. So the partnership is really about bringing Yarra Valley Water staff together with our Jacobs and Ripple partners to deliver those project outcomes to the community.
Was it an intentional decision to include diversity as part of that?
Absolutely. So prior to the current partnership, we had one organisation that we were working with for engineering services, and over that decade, lots of things happened. We had a global pandemic, the business encountered restructures, there were loads of things that were sort of happening around us, and in the meantime, the community was changing as well. And so while we had been getting great outcomes and achieving good success with that one provider, it was decided that we needed to challenge ourselves and bring in more thinking to the table, and not just more thinking, more diverse thinking as well.
And with those particular organisations, you mentioned it was quite a deliberate decision. Was there something about the alignment there that made sense?
Absolutely. I think when we went to market to look at who was out there in the space to deliver engineering services, it was all about who was out there that really could present opportunities and solutions that would meet the diverse the diverse requirements that our community was asking from us. Yarra Valley Water itself is always out in the community asking what they would like from us to deliver aside from just water and sewer services. And surprisingly enough, they do want a lot more of that. They want us to partner with traditional owner groups. They want us to deliver a lot more in terms of social procurement in the way that we deliver projects. So when we went out to market, we wanted to make sure that the partners that we've ended up with also had that at the heart of their organisations.
You're listening to the Australian Water Association podcast series, and I'm speaking with Lisa Fragomeni from Yarra Valley Water and Jane La Nauze from Stantec. I'm going to ask you a bit more about your own personal experiences now of working in the water industry. Jane, did you think diversity would be a conversation that you'd be having?
It's a good question. I started in the water industry 16 years ago as a graduate, and definitely gender diversity and other kinds of diversity probably wasn't really talked about too much back then. And then when I sort of fast forward to today, when I look around and then reflect back on where we were, yes, the peer group around me and the leadership has changed to be much more diverse. I think it's still got a long way to go, but it is great that we're seeing that change, and also that these conversations have been had about diversity, but also about things like the gender pay gap, and that's now actually been brought up to reporting metrics and things like that within our organisations. The thing that probably I'm still saddened by is that when you look at the who's entering university and engineering, we're still sitting at somewhere like 15% for females entering. So we still don't have this funnel of diversity coming in, which is still going to create this problem for probably generations to come. So we really need to look at that as an industry.
And what about you, Lisa?
Absolutely. I think when I started in the industry, similar to Jane, I was 16 years ago myself. And I hadn't anticipated really that it would be, at that time, something that we would talk about. So definitely there's been noticeable change. I think that, hiring policies, there's recognition that we do, in particular, need more female voices at the table, but we are looking at other diverse groups as well. For me personally, I'd reflect similarly to Jane in that, there is still a way to go from personal experience. If I'm in a technical engineering conversation, the other people at the table are not like me as a woman, which is not to suggest that we need, all women at the table, but certainly more diverse thinking. As I reflect back on the previous topic, we were talking about more diverse voices at a table in project and program decision making. It's got to start at the start. We've really got to get that funnel in.
And what was it about a career in this industry? What was your big driver for being part of it?
At the time, if I reflect back, it was 15, 16 years ago. We were probably at the height of the millennium drought. And so my background is chemical engineering, so I sort of had a choice of a few different industries to go into. But what really struck me was the difficulty communities in the environment struggling through lack of natural water resource. And so I decided that I wanted to get in there and make a real difference by jumping into an authority at the outset with Yarra Valley Water. So hoping that in some small way we are making a difference to the way we treat our natural water resources.
For you, Jane, when you think about the future and what your career and other people's careers will look like, what do you hope for?
Yeah, good question. I guess touching on the earlier point about the inclusion and diversity, I hope that we continue on the trajectory we're on and that we continue to have more diverse, voices at the table, because it's going to create a better future for all of us. But then sort of thinking about, the core thing being water and water as a resource. I think the water industry has been really good at thinking beyond the core need of just clean water and sanitation to think, well, no, this is a scarce resource, and how can we be doing things differently, bringing in recycled water or looking at biochar and all these amazing things. But I hope we continue on that journey, and I think that requires us to collaborate more. I think the industry's made really good strides in collaboration, probably in the last 10 years particularly, between water corporations, but also with their partners, their engineering partners and stuff. We're now really opening up to that diversity of thought, and that's really going to be key to us, creating more, better impacts for the environment and creating a sustainable future.
Do you think it's something that the industry and the AWA or the Water Association can help tackle? What about you first, Lisa?
Yeah, for sure. We talked about sort of funneling in the diversity of thought. My thinking's always been about a groundswell in schools and how early do we go? Do we start speaking to the water industry, to kids in primary age and secondary age about possibilities of working to resolve their global issues? And so, generating this excitement and harnessing that excitement for making a change practically, I think, there's an opportunity to go into schools and have a chat about the difference that they can make.
What about you, Jane?
Well, I echo what Lisa says, and I think the AWA could play a really important role of helping us do that as an industry, because, you can go to one school and you might have an impact on a couple of kids, but how can we be doing that as a collective, as a water industry? And I think that's then brings in that diversity piece, because selling the message that you don't actually have to just be an engineer to be in water and to have an impact and to be creative, and then I guess, I think the other thing is the AWA does a fantastic job of connecting us as an industry, but I think we're going to need to collaborate more and more as, costs are going up and resources scarce. So how are we actually collaborating so that, one water corporation might be focusing on something, let's let someone else do something else, and creating that sort of knowledge sharing connectivity is really important.
I've been speaking with Lisa Fragomeni from Yarra Valley Water and Jane La Nauze from Stantec. Thank you for being part of today.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.